Welcome to Generation Next, a youth movement platform geared towards inspiring, motivating, and directing young people's participation towards responsibilities in the developing society. We are working to raise awareness on issues and challenges the youth are faced with in order to effect a positive change. My guest today, Mr. Almami Fanding Taal, born and educated in Banjul, was the deputy head boy, Gambia High School, in 1990-1991, and a youth leader, currently General Council Africa Development Group and founding faculty member, lecturer and researcher, public law at the Faculty of Law, University of the Gambia. He is a legal practitioner with over 20 years experience in public and private law and a former judge of the High Court of the Gambia. Over 15 years in senior counsel and senior management and executive position in both the public and private sector. Served as the CEO of Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and between 2007 and 2008, the CEO of the Gambia Divestiture Agency responsible for the privatization of assets of the Gambia government. Mr. Taal provided legal advice to ministers and permanent secretaries in many departments across a range of policy areas, from taxation, trade law, IP law, human rights, to private sector development, facilitation and investment climate, draft bills and legislation on trade, finance and economics matters, and represented the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, or the board of all the public enterprises of the Gambia, and climate change negotiator for the Gambia 1990 to 2005. Mr. Almami Fanding Taal, legal specialist, Gambia Gateway Project 2002-2009, chairman of the board of GAMWorks Community Infrastructure Livelihood Improvement Project, SILIP Project 2012 to 2013, co-chairman Project Steering Committee, Gambia Growth and Competitiveness Project 2012 to 2016. Of course, Ms. Taal, I need to breathe or take a breath on that. It's a pleasure to actually have you on Generation Next.
Thank you very much for having me. And when you hear your profile read like that and so well by you, it's very, very humbling to participate in a discussion of this nature. And I'm very pleased that I could come and be part of the conversation today.
Thank you so much. Of course, it's important that when most of us, if you like, young people, see any remarkable persons like yourself, we are so overwhelmed in a sense that we're like, oh my gosh, I wish I could get what he has got. I wish I could be who he is. I wish I could gain the confidence alone. But of course, I always say that we all have a story to tell. And Generation Next, we simply believe in that. But also we believe that to every girl that you see now has a story. And that story is never an easy journey. Therefore, we will be pleased if you take us through, because it mentioned that you were a head boy at Gambia High School. So take us through that journey, that path.
I don't know. I mean, sometimes when I have this kind of generational conversations, I think the way I look at it is slightly very different. Actually, I think my life's journey has been extremely easy, especially the first part. I was born in my father's house. I had elder brothers. I have younger brothers and younger siblings. I live in a neighborhood that I know everybody, and it was easygoing. I mean, all you have to do was to go to school and do well and come back home. You find food there. You never have to worry about paying bills. You never have to worry about anything. I mean, everything was provided by my parents, who were both uneducated. My father was a small businessman at the Laswaf market.
Okay.
And, my mom also used to sell stuff there. but all my brothers were educated by my father, and they all found their way, before I came up. So I wasn't like the first son, or the first person in the family. My brothers were all very educated. So I think I had example around me, and it made the journey relatively easy. So when I got to high school, I think I have been very quiet and a little shy, especially in my teenage years. But eventually, I started picking up uh, public speaking skills. I participated in school debates, inter-school debates, and I was making good grades. And in those days, is enough for you to be earmarked for leadership. My year, Mrs. Dr. Satang Jau was then the principal of Gambia High School. After my A levels, Switzerland was celebrating 700 years of their confederation, and I was lucky to be selected to represent Gambia High School. And there was a colleague from St. Augustine High School, Roxana Thomas. I haven't seen her since that fateful holiday in Switzerland. I mean, I'm just saying all of this to say that when you are young, when you are a young person making your way, it's very important that you have a supportive family, and it's a kind of luck, draw of the luck that you have good parents who obviously love you, who are there providing for the basics. And I think in that way I have been lucky. And when I finished my A levels, I got to teach very briefly in Gambia High School for like a year, and got a scholarship to go and study. So really, when I hear that, the stories, I mean, the stories are there of growing up, finding yourself. But to be honest with you, the Banjul of my youth was a wonderful place to grow up in. It was really a very diverse. You had cinemas, you had nightclubs, you had all the things that make the city an exciting place to grow up in. You find yourself, you meet people, Christians, non-believers, Europeans, and other, African nationalities, all of them within a very small space. So you get to learn about the world very early on, and you start thinking, just how big the world is, and how are you going to make your way. Obviously, you constantly think about that, but you of course admire people like Professor Tumani Kora. Was one of our guest speakers in the mid 80s, when we have this speech and prize giving day. And can you believe it? It was then that some of us heard for the first time about climate change, almost 40 years ago. So those are the kind of things that stay with you for a very long time, because of your own curiosity, because of your own exposure. And as you make your way along, you start feeling for the real thing. Is this my path? When was it that you decided that you want to study law, and what your motivations were, and to be the first person in your family to blaze that trail, is something that is a matter of satisfaction, is a matter of pride. But it has been so far, it has been a good story for me, and I don't like to complain. And I mean, especially the transition from young person to adulthood. I have my parents to thank, my siblings, but most of all my country, because I got scholarships very early, even when I was in high school. The city council used to give scholarships, and then the mayor, James Gomez, recently Minister of Fisheries, he was the mayor of Banjul, and I remember him, signing a check for me to take for my, was it either my sixth form or form five? I can't remember now, but I'm just saying that the opportunities are there, the inspirations are there. It's for all of us to make them available equally to everybody deserving of them. But we should also be careful not to infantilize young people. We should guide them. We should be on their corner. But we should also allow them to sometimes make their own mistakes, sometimes learn the hard way. Nowadays, we all want to learn the smart way. We don't want to be distracted by high moral speeches or pontifications. You want things to be uh, dope, or things to be woke, and these are all things that we should try and adapt them to our reality. So the Almami Fanding Taal story is really one of a lucky person to have been born in the 70s of the Gambia, just when we have gained our independence. And we had been lucky to have a leader or leaders like Sadauda and the late OJ to, to help us come of age, because in Gambia High School we went to the same classes with the children of the president, the vice president, the ministers. There was a time in Gambia High School, anybody who is anybody in the Gambia send their children there, and we were so proud of that legacy, and we remember now the founders of that school, people like the lawyer, famous lawyer Usman Silla, who was the first head boy of Gambia High School in 1959. Now he's a very advanced age, and you see a lot of prominent Gambians there. There is a wall of fame in the Gambia High School library. During my time, we used to look at the names of those who got scholarships. People like the former Vice President, Mr. Bakari B. Dabo. He was one of those people. So you have all of those things before you, and the example, the inspiration, and some of the legends you hear about, you know, head boys who did, exceptionally well. Two of my friends, they are now late, around the same generation. I'm sure you must have heard the name Francis de Gaulle Njai. He was a student of distinction and excellence, but he died. He died sadly so young, a few years ago. You know that this life, one has to be lucky. If you are lucky, like I genuinely believe I was, you can navigate that stage of your life with dignity, and with some hope and promise. And Going back to my sixth form days, my high school days, people like the broadcaster Iso Williams, we were classmates. Yes, Sirandao, of formerly of Q Group, and now of Aniket. Sirandao actually was my head girl in Gambia High School, and Aliu Jawara was the head boy of my batch. So I mean, looking around, you see all of us have come of age nicely. We have all got our own families now, and it's our turn to take care of them and prepare them for adulthood.
Right. That is a beautiful, if you like, insight that you've taken us to. Because oftentimes, when you sit with, or let's say, if I should sit with my grandmother, of course, she always do comparison. Okay, then and now it's completely different.
I hope you are not suggesting I'm the same age as your grandmother.
No. I'm just giving example to that.
I know,
Because
I know.
most young people, even when you talk to them, of course, you always hear, because of what we heard from what our dads or our grandparents would tell us, right? But you've mentioned that it means therefore you have to be lucky to get some opportunities, or to create some opportunities, if you like, because I believe opportunities needs to be created. But what message then do you have to send to young people of nowadays? Because if I'm sitting here and believing that it's all about luck, maybe what you've achieved is all about luck, that will give me that. Is that the mentality that most young people of nowadays believe, that it has to be luck for you to?
No, I wasn't talking that is only luck. I'm just saying that you have all these opportunities at a certain time of your life.
Okay.
Making the best of it, or being chosen by the time or the opportunities, is a matter of luck. It's not that I was the most brilliant student, or I was the best all-round athlete, or I was anything near that. It's just that a combination of circumstances put us all together, and the luck of the draw is that I became like deputy head boy. I got the chance to go to Switzerland on a paid holiday just after my A-levels, right after my, and you meet people from all over the world. This is the context in which I'm talking about the luck.
Right.
So
Okay,
it's not
understood.
that you have to go around and waiting for your luck. No.
Right.
It's just that you know that everything that has happened in your life, there is a good part of it. It's not because of your effort or your earnestness or your brilliance. It's not always about you. It's really about the circumstances that come together to present you with the opportunities.
Right.
You know, that's the context I was talking about. Because I know this generation, sometimes they think that because we are all the same, we have done the same things, why should it be Sarah and not somebody else? You know, I mean, we very quickly want to force the moment into she is not better than me, why not me? So it goes to the old African proverb that it takes a village to raise a child. Every element has to come together to help the child to find himself. Now, if you were born of parents who are not educated in those days, it is very common to have that. It's very common to have both parents not ever being in a school.
True.
Of course, now you cannot, you can hardly think about that, but it actually still very common. Some people never just had the opportunity to go to school.
True.
I was listening to this the great Gambian poet Dr. Tijan Salah talking about Serekunda of the 50s and 60s, that his father was formally educated, but his mother was very brainy, but she didn't go to school. I think in his estimation, her mother was more brilliant than his father. So I'm just saying that there is something that guides our destiny, and we have to understand that that is also part of the process. Effort, there is nothing that you can achieve in life without effort. There is nowhere that you say, oh, I'm just a lucky guy. And so I wasn't saying it in that context.
Okay. Okay.
I'm just aware that my life could have turned out differently if I had not had the scholarship to
Travel.
go away, if I had not had the kind of parents I had, or brothers and other siblings and friends, because up to now, a lot of my contemporaries, even yesterday, I was in conversation with someone I went to Dara with, and he tells me how proud they all are whenever they see me or hear my words on the airwaves. They feel so proud that this is he is one of us. We all grew up together, and normally he calls me on Friday. So it's very humbling to see Generation Next interested in hearing some of these stories. So I don't want to give the impression that there is only one way to tell this story. I mean, I am not very keen to fetishize youth, because I was a young person once with a lot of thousands and thousands of Gambians. So to be able to make an impression, even on Generation Next, is a great honor, because I know a lot of my classmates, a lot of my friends uh, who watch this would know exactly what I'm saying. I mean, and it's very important that we don't exclude that mystical element in our destiny, and also in the lessons we wish to teach. Because if I want to teach my children that all in life you just have to be lucky, I would be misleading them, obviously.
Right. Obviously, yeah. So it's important that was clarified, because maybe a young person who perhaps is watching would have thought like how I think, and like, oh yeah, you need luck. So now another thing that we focus on has to do with the public speaking bit, because I know it's not anybody who gets the position of a head boy. It means, therefore, you've mentioned effort. Effort needs to be put there. But how was it for you for the first time, having to stand and actually speak in public?
It was kind of difficult, and there was a lot of nervousness more than anything else. Uh, how I was able to overcome that was I got into the habit of reading loud, reading to myself. So it helps with my pronunciation, it helps with my diction. And I had very good teachers who always encouraged me. Mrs. Emily Funsar was one of my literature teachers in the sixth form. And I remember writing an essay and she gave me full marks. This was unprecedented. So those kind of encouragement and the stories that you read uh, and the kind of political awakening that we had, and the great Honorable Halifa Saleh,
Right.
that was when their political party came of age. I mean, came into existence in the mid 80s. So to hear him speak at that time, we are so impressionable. So you start imitating the way he spoke, because that's one of the ways to learn to speak. Then you have the American Civil Rights movement. In those days, they had recordings, cassette recordings. So Dr. Martin Luther King, his "I Have a Dream" speech, Louis Farrakhan, and other famous global public speakers. You will have a recording of their famous speeches, and you would be listening to them on a Walkman or on a radio cassette player. So as you read more and as you get more informed about issues, you start debating with friends, and so the whole art of speaking uh, becomes part and parcel of your own growing up, because it can frame the world for you. I mean, of course, school really is where you need to get all those tools, because here I'm sad to say our education is rather very restricted and very narrow. And the cultural component of the education is gradually being just sucked out. I don't know why we don't speak or learn other languages, Gambian languages in school or even at university. If you go to Yale University, if you go to Oxford, they are learning African languages like Swahili, and if you go to South Africa, their universities are teaching that. Also, our instruments, we don't learn how to play them in school, and they can be a lot of fun. You know, we have some traditional sports, which I think your generation probably do not know anything about. So all of these things come together to build your confidence and get you ready to exchange with anyone on any platform, because this is something that you own. This is your culture, is your heritage, and it puts you on a pedestal to engage with the world. I mean, everybody here has a right to be on this planet. We are children of the universe. Nobody is any better or any less than any other person. So you can see, if you go to Senegal, they speak Wolof much better. They have better music. They have better tailors. They have better everything, because it is anchored on their culture and their heritage and their civilization, which is not very different from our own. So even when we were young, Senegal had a television station. There was only one, RTS, and it used to have these National Geographic. I mean, of course, it's in French, but you know, you see the natural world. You see the animals in the zoo. You see the animals in safari. You see the animals in the ocean. So all of this contribute to your education, and it prepares you to see that this is a very big world, and you know, you have a place in it, and you can influence things. So at the end of the day, you know, you start getting these life skills. I mean, to be able to express yourself well. You read. The more you read, the more your vocabulary expands. So when you write, the better it gets, because you are able to use more of the language. So English really is a skill, just like maths is a skill. But the way they are taught in our schools, because they are divorced from their cultural context, or at least our own cultural context, it becomes very difficult. I'll give you a very quick example. When I was lecturing at the university, I'm telling you, university lecturing, I'll ask the students, in Wolof, what is the color green?
I don't know.
Yes. In Mandinka, it's called, translated roughly, is fresh leaf. That is the literal translation of green in Mandinka into English. You know? I'm sure yellow, for example. Yellow, everyone say nete, but that's a fruit. So it goes back to this kind of very, very basic things. How did these names come about? Clearly, to a Mandinka speaker, the color green can only be described more like grass or fresh leaf or something like that. So it's a very pictorial language. Even though it is not written, once you speak Mandinka to someone who understands it, he can even, or she can even go back to the root of the word. I mean, this explains also the kind of culture that grows around these Mandinka instruments, like the kora, like the water drum, what they call jitantang. So these are all, if you like, nuggets of knowledge that if you teach your children or the children of this country all these things, they will get another level above English when it comes to expression, when it comes to language, And this would help them develop their skills yeah, even better, because for them the canvas keeps expanding, because they will have to translate between 1, 2, or 3 languages to be able to send their message across.
That's really interesting because, to be quite honest, when all those things were mentioned, I can say that in my local language, and it can be quite discouraging as well. But moving on, like using myself as an example now, I have people I look up to. You are among those people that I look up to. Now, growing up as a young person, who were some of the people that you've mentioned? Halifa Saleh. I don't know if he's part of those ones.
Yeah, he was.
Who else, if there were others?
The first president, when he was around, he was a very sophisticated man, very elegant, you know, because I had, I think it was his 60th birthday, and Radio Gambia was wishing him well, and they asked him what music would he like to hear on his 60th birthday. And he mentioned a Russian classical music composer who had been dead like some 200 years ago, called Tchaikovsky, you know. So at that time, you know, you just had radio in the Gambia, no television. So, you know, when they start playing the piano concerto, you know, this is the first time I even heard that name, Tchaikovsky. And, you know, that he was a classical pianist and composer. So for your president to be talking about, you know, this huge universe, that inspired me to try and understand things like that, because classical music is very sophisticated, and it's been around for many years, and up to now people listen to it, people enjoy it. To have that as part of not only your vocabulary, but also as part of the requests of your own president during your formative years, I think that leaves a mark. And whenever I think of Sadauda these days, that's what I think, the kind of person he was. And then in primary school, we had the Banjul Declaration that was made when we went to celebrate independence in 1977. And the Banjul Declaration is like 45, 46 years ahead of its time. It's talking about conservation of our remaining fauna and flora, and how much of the natural world has been destroyed in the last 100 years or so. So he was really the greatest example that I look up to. He was not only a politician, he was a man of the world. He was like our standard bearer. He was even larger than Martin Luther King for us, or Nelson Mandela for that matter. And I think really this country owes him a lot for what it turned out to be and where we are in the estimation of the world. So he was really my greatest icon of those years.
Fantastic. What else would you have, perhaps that I've not asked, that you may want to say due to time? So I'll let you, you know, go ahead with anything else you feel is important, and you go ahead, tell us.
Just to say, importantly, the education system of our time, this 21st century, what it should propose, what it should aim to do in terms of skilling the next generation, your generation, so that they can take care of the planet, not only take care of themselves, but take care of the communities that they grow up in. Because one thing we are missing in the Gambia now and around the world is moral leadership. So we really expect the next generation to take up that mantle. And leadership is not about appointed office. It's not about elections. It's not really even about political parties. It is about taking care of each other, taking care of your surrounding, making sure that whatever it is that you are doing, you do it with some flair, some excellence, and a vision that we are all connected. Those who live with us, even for a very short while, they are our brothers and sisters, and that we have only this planet, and every day you are hearing disasters, you are hearing uh, 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 dangers, you are hearing rumors of war, you are having, all of these problems. I think Generation Next have a leadership responsibility to change the trajectory of our planet. Otherwise, I'm afraid uh, this world will end very dramatically very soon.
Inshallah. Well, of course, young people who best knows it than us are very soft, but also very imperative that we have other young people. I would still want to refer to Mr. Taal as young people because he is a young person, but with experience to take us through and guide us because we need guidance. Mr. Taal, we appreciate the Generation Next that despite your busy schedule, you had to come because that's all we need. We need people of your caliber to grace this occasion and show the young people, yes, the world belongs to you, and we were young people too, and we are still young people, and we are behind you. So we appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. And dear listeners, that's where we draw the curtain. But before we go, this beautiful environment that you see, it's the newest hotel in town, and it's called Majula Boutique Hotel. It's right at Fajara, slightly adjacent to MRC. So please make sure you come over here and enjoy the breeze. Thank you.